may know Glenn Campbell. He works with the, he works with me here at Alaska Center. And he also sits on the QM-PSG. I believe he is the co-chair of the group, and they've been developing a marketing strategy for some of the QM tools that they've been developing and promoting. If you're not familiar with what the QM group is doing, this is your chance to learn. And turn it over to Glenn.
Again, like Andy said, this is Glenn Campbell. I'm the co-chair of the Quality Management PSG. So one of the things that we've been struggling with a little bit in our QM group is when we bring on new members, and when new members and when people are in their FMCs, is kind of talking about what is quality management, why is it important, what does it impact, why do you want to have good processes and stuff like this. So we've been working with the states to create kind of a PowerPoint presentation, just a very high level about what it is, what we do and why it's important. And so then hopefully people who are not in FIS or on the QMPSG will say, oh, that is important. Why should I do projects that are quality management related, and why should I care about stuff like this, or how do I write an RFP proposal for quality management, and why is it important? So that's kind of what this talk is. So you guys, the ERPSG is a little bit of a guinea pig for this presentation, and we would like comments back afterwards, or maybe you can email Andy, we can improve this so that we're better at marketing who we are. So I'll get going here. So the process of collecting, analyzing, and reporting fisheries-dependent data is in a constant state of flux. The inherent nature of fisheries science management makes standardizing processes difficult to develop and implement. As new technologies come online and new needs driven by changing conditions in our oceans ecosystems emerge, data programs need to try and keep one step ahead. In short, this dynamic environment requires that we continually ensure we have high-quality processes and systems. That's the role of the FIS Quality Management Professional Specialty Group. So fisheries-dependent data is regionally driven, it's dynamic, it's responsive to new technologies, it's constantly facing new demands, and it requires constant improvement. So what is quality management? We'll talk more about this later as we adapt quality management into fisheries-dependent data, but we think it's important to stress principles and practices that transcend professions, discipline, and sectors. In a nutshell, quality management is the development and implementation of quality processes to ensure that all organizations' programs and services are of the highest quality to best meet stakeholder needs. It's about a culture of continuous improvement. Quality management engages an organization's leadership, incorporates strategic planning, and ideally integrates with strategic planning processes, uses process improvement tools, and actively listens to stakeholders to better understand their needs. QM is not only focused on product and service quality, but also the means to achieve it. When we're talking about quality, we're talking about something that is defined by the principles and strategies used by an organization, along with the standards, measurements, and documentation of all process systems and data. It's not new thinking, but rather it's a way to systemize a culture of quality. So to kind of talk about what is quality management at a very high level, we often got this question about, do I have quality data? Do I have quality reporting system? Do I have quality software? And quality is all determined by how active your leadership is, how active your planning is. Do you have improvement tools in place to verify if it's working, if it's not, and are you listening to your stakeholders? So what may be quality for one system may be a little bit different for another system based off what the stakeholders need, is testing involved, and what tools you use to produce that process. So basically think about what products do you produce? Is your product an electronic reporting tool? Well, is it of the highest quality? And that's something you have to measure based off of, does it meet the stakeholders? Does it meet the customer's needs? What is it like for the people that are inputting the software? And this is all the concept of quality management. So here are the building blocks of your sort of visualized quality management. As you can see, each of these parts of QM take us a further step forward to our final goal of quality programs and services that meet our stakeholders' needs. So first we have quality management principles. Essentially, is leadership involved, and do they value quality management? Do they value high-quality products? And secondly, do you have quality management strategies? Do you have specific plans in place? Do you have a strategic plan in place? Do you have, for instance, a value stream map in place? And then secondly, do you have quality improvement tools? Do you have processes in place to do what we call plan, do, check, act? Do you have ways and tools to evaluate whether or not you're meeting your stakeholders' needs? And then lastly, quality programs and services. Does your output, your software, your reports, your data, does it meet your the needs of your customers or stakeholders? So some of the quality management principles is, do you have engaged leadership? QM works best when leadership is involved and provides support for clear, unified goals. Do you have continuous improvement in place, which is what we call a process approach? Does QM look at all the interrelated processes within an organization and ensures they are working together effectively? Do you have stakeholder focus? As mentioned earlier, the end goal is to satisfy the stakeholder needs. Do you have a systems approach to management? That is, managing with an understanding of the relationship among different aspects of a project or an organization. Do you have factual approach decision making? The importance of analyzing available data to make more effective decisions. So that is, are you making decisions based on what the data is telling you versus a hypothetical situation? Lastly, do you have involvement of all organizational staff? It's critical that all levels of staff are involved in the process to ensure buy-in and also to bring a host of perspectives. So one of the things that we recognize as a QM group, especially in fisheries, we often get tunnel focused. What's my job? What do I have to do? And what happens in that case is we often forget about, in a process, when somebody is passing me maybe a report or data, do I understand what I'm getting from that person, and then what is the impact of my output on the next person or the next part of the process? So kind of getting out of the tunnel focus and really being understanding of what your input is and what your output is and how that affects the upstream and downstream. So the next is quality improvement strategies. So the strategies are dealt really a lot around training. Does the organization have training on tools and principles? Do you have documentation of all your processes and data? Are you evaluating your existing standards? And are you ensuring that a measurement system is in place? One of the things that we found in the QM group is that people don't often document their processes. They just, they'll tell you something like, oh, it's in a box, or this is how we do it, and it's not really understood or documented so that you can truly educate and explain to other people how your process works. Some of the improvement tools existent, for example, are strategic planning, Hosh and Connery. You can do measures and metrics, balanced scorecards, Gantt charts. Value stream mapping is a great way to map a process so it's visual so people understand it. and then documentation of data and process management. These are all types of quality improvement tools that we support, and we really hope that people are using. And we provide a lot of, in our RFP funding, we provide a lot of money for people to do, for instance, value stream mapping, Hoshin-Conry, so that they really understand their processes. And these tools really help with buy-in quite a bit. Sorry. So ultimately, apologize for that. Ultimately, these drive, all of these tools, strategic planning, drive quality outcomes. So finally, these principles and strategic tools come together to drive quality outcomes for the future that meet the needs of the stakeholders. Ultimately, I think what we're all trying to do, whether we're building an electronic reporting tool, whether we're building a data report, whether we're supplying data, we want to meet the needs of our stakeholders. But how do we know we're meeting the needs of our stakeholders? And that's what the concept of quality management is. Are the stakeholders involved? Do we have processes that document those? Are we checking in with our stakeholders often to make sure they're part of the testing process, that they're part of the review process? Is leadership engaged, that they're giving us the time to do good coding and create these things? So this is all the concept of quality management. Because it's sort of like the concept of if you're producing a car, what product do we produce? You know, in the fisheries world, we produce reports, we produce electronic software. So do you want to have a system in place that as you're in production mode, as you're producing something, that it's checking along the way that you're producing a quality product? Because if you spend 2 or 3 years developing a software application, and then at the end you find that it doesn't meet your customer's needs or it doesn't work right, you should have been along those 2 or 3 years checking as you're going to make sure it's meeting those needs. It's sort of like producing a car. You don't fix the car at the end, you fix it throughout the iterative process of creating it, and that's the concept of quality management. So a little bit about us. That's the kind of the overall goal of the quality management specialty groups. We develop and host quality management trainings to provide participants with methods and tools for improving data collection, reporting processes, and region across the country. We also guide in the implementation of quality management principles and tools and daily business practice to ensure ongoing improvement. So what's our value proposition to our stakeholders? Basically, what products do we produce? We produce fisheries people produce reports, presentations, computer applications. We come up with trainings, we do data collections, and who are some of our stakeholders? We've got councils, we've got regions and science centers, we've got the American public, we've got Congress, and we've got colleagues and peers. Your staff and your colleague across the hall from you, or maybe in the same office from you, is a stakeholder of the work you do, so they should be involved in the process of developing your applications and your products. So what we've done as a QM group to help with people is on our QM website, we've created what is called a QM toolbox. And the toolbox has a number of tools that we found that people could use for quality management tools like flow charting, strategic planning, value stream mapping. So if you just go to the FIS website and go to the quality management PSG, you'll be able to find our what toolbox and how to use the tool, who's used it, and we have a person that you can contact if you've got more questions for each tool. A couple of the tools, for instance, Hoshin-Conry strategic planning. It's a planning tool that creates a clear strategic plan and shows the links between short-term actions, long-term visions. It's also used to promote accountability and improve process tracking. Hoshin-Conry is a great strategic tool that can help you determine what projects are worth working on, because it will show you a true relationship if that project will drive your overall goals and vision of your organizations. We often get bogged down in working on projects or what project should we work on. We're limited to the resources and the time that we have, so if I've got 10 projects, which one should I work on? And Hoshin Conry is a great tool to use to say, this one is the one we should work on first because it will have more impact on our overall goals and mission. Another tool that we really push in is what we call value stream mapping. This is a tool to provide an overview of a process starting and finishing at the stakeholder. It's a pictorial representation of information process flow, helps to create a roadmap for improvement. Value stream mapping is essentially a pictorial view of a process. You can show to somebody what you're doing, how long it takes, and where are the roadblocks. And then you can visually say, you can do these, what you see these red bursts on here, which are called Kaizen bursts. And these you can say, you know, if we fix this or we did this, it might improve this process, or it might make the process simpler and faster. So we've used this a lot in different fisheries organizations that have really helped people improve their processes and create better processes. So ultimate takeaways. QM is the development and implementation of quality processes. QM tools are available right now to help you solve real-world issues you're facing in your day-to-day work. The QM-PSG, we offer trainings, guiding implementation of principles and tools into everyday practices. Basically, we can come to you, we can help you with these tools to help you with your processes. And then we have our QM toolbox. It's a central space for QM tools, exercises, instructional information, and case studies. And then lastly, this is who we are. This is everyone on our group. One of the things that the QM has really strived for in the last several years is providing money for workshops. So if you have processes or you've got, a system of developing software or developing applications and you want to have a really high-level look at those, how efficient they are, this would be a great opportunity for the QM group or for QM Money, where we could hold a workshop for you or provide training for you on how to really make sure that you're providing the best potential product for your stakeholders. So I know this is kind of really high level. Ultimately, what we're trying to drive is how do we help you produce the best product possible so that when that product goes out the door, whatever it is, again, if it's a report, if it's data, if it's software, that it meets the customer's needs and they don't have to come back to you for fixes. I have a colleague here in my office who says, don't question my data, question my processes. If the data shows 5, that's the number, that's the answer. But question how we came up with 5. So question the process, not the data. So that's our very high level QM, what the QM does. And Andy, that's the end of my presentation. I don't know if people have questions or thoughts, but I'm definitely willing to highlight those or take those. Andy?
Sure, yeah. Any questions for Glenn?
Hey, Glenn, this is Melanie. Thank you so much for your presentation. I guess just to try to put a plug in, too, we, in the Pacific Islands region, we got money from the FIS-PMT to do both Hoshin Conry and also value stream mapping exercise for some issues that we had for fisheries management in our Sustainable Fisheries Division. And I have to say, at least for the value stream mapping, we already see a great benefit from, we were managing our permits program, and there's a lot of challenges with doing that, and one of the things had to do with trying to get people to use electronic methods for doing permit applications versus handing us paper to do it. And the value stream mapping process allowed us to identify where it was we could really make our process a lot more efficient. And like this year, we've seen, we went from having about 20% of the people doing electronic applications, and we've gone up to about 70% this year, which is unbelievable jump for us. So, and I really credit that value stream mapping process to help us visualize what was going on and where we could get in there and really improve the process. So if other regions have these kinds of processes, it's a great way to analyze it and help get an idea where you can put your energy into improving it.
Great, yeah, and I know that Karen has done a great job of being an ambassador out there. You know, again, one of the goals of the QM group is to kind of educate ourselves on these tools so that at each FMC we can help you guys out, or if we don't have a specific expertise, one of us can come out to you as well. So that's one of our goals, is so you don't always have to have what we call American Society for Quality Facilitator, that we can do that for you guys.
Yeah, we're super lucky in the Pacific Islands region that we have 2 of them on site with Karen and Stephanie, so lucky us.
Right.
Yeah, I just echo. Thanks, Glenn. That was great, and I think it underscores just the overlap between the PSGs. I mean, really all QM principles should be part of the process when you're developing electronic reporting tools and solutions, and so I do think it's really valuable. I would also echo what Melanie said. I mean, we've done a couple value stream mappings here and found them to be extremely insightful in terms of, wow, that takes 20 minutes for that particular component of the process, when it, you add that up over time and it adds up to all this time. And anyway, you really dive into it using a value stream map, it really is insightful how you can target your processes to make them better. And so in terms of electronic reporting tools, it really is an important component. So,
yeah, and one of the big benefits that I have found, is kind of hard to quantify this benefit, but often these QM tools and these QM workshops, it really gets people in the same room and starts talking and sharing ideas. I think that one of the things, as I talked about in fisheries, sometimes we get in this blinders mentality where we're not, in some cases, talking enough to each other, even within our own FMCs, and then you find out, oh, I didn't know you were doing that, and I'm doing that as well, or you just get great buy-in. People then really understand the role that they play in the process, and it creates great buy-in, and when people have more ownership of the data, more ownership of the process, they tend to care more, and that drives quality outcomes.
Any more comments, questions? Thanks, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time.